The road to the NBA Finals ends here, with star guards setting the tone. The Cavs eye another upset, while the Knicks carry the dreams of all of New York. The Eastern Conference Finals continue on ESPN and ABC.
Hey, it's JJ, and welcome to Ask the Health Expert. But this isn't just any old Ask the Health Expert session. This is your bonus session. Yes, it's the weekend, and because it's the weekend, we are going to take some time with an amazing expert. So be on the lookout for these Saturday Ask the Health Expert bonus sessions where we're going to go deep into an amazing subject with an incredible expert to give you actionable items that you can put into your life. All right, I have been waiting to be able to do this interview for a long time because I love the way Dr. Brian Mowll approaches blood sugar and diabetes. He has been focused on this for over 10 years, and he has created an approach that works 100% of the time when you follow it. So we are going to be unpacking that today. So if you are looking for better blood sugar balance, insulin sensitivity, maybe you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, this is the show for you. And reminder, if your blood sugar is just a little above where it should be, fasting blood sugar, say 70 to 80, and you're up at 90, you have 5 times the risk of dementia. So this is definitely something you want to pay attention to. Let me tell you a little bit about my buddy, Brian. He is the founder and medical director of Sweet Life Diabetes Health Centers and serves clients worldwide as the diabetes coach. He's a certified diabetes care and education specialist, a master licensed diabetes educator, and certified to practice functional medicine by the Institute for Functional Medicine. For over 20 years, Dr. Brian Mowll has been helping people around the world to optimize their health and metabolism, control blood sugar, and reverse type 2 diabetes using a natural, personalized lifestyle approach. In addition, he is the host of the #1 rated Mastering Blood Sugar podcast and author of the book, and this is what I'm so excited for, The Pro-Fast Diet, Burn Fat, and Reverse Type 2 Diabetes in Just 6 Weeks. And I got to tell you, you're going to hear some things here that you don't normally hear that you can put into immediate action. You're also going to be able to grab his blood sugar manifesto. You can get that at jjvirgin.com/manifesto. So that if you can't furiously write notes, we've got you covered. And so with that, stay with me. I'll be right back with Dr. Brian Mowll. Dr. Brian Mowll, welcome back to the show. I am excited to be talking about your new book.
Thank you so much for having me on to talk about it and other things related to blood sugar and metabolic health.
I love talking diabetes, blood sugar, and everything metabolism, and the listeners always love it too. And you're a great authority on the subject. We are coming live from Dr. Brian Mowll's car, just so everybody knows. And I love the dedication. Like the Wi-Fi isn't working at your house, you figure it out. So I love that you just made this one work. I think before we dive into all of your strategies here and get into the book, let's talk first about like how you got into diabetes in the first place. Why did you take this on?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it really was for me more of a professional passion. So I was doing functional medicine-based care, seeing people with hypothyroidism and irritable bowel syndrome and kids on the autism spectrum and ADHD and food allergy stuff and all that, and diabetes and blood sugar, people who wanted to lose weight and couldn't, that type of thing. And I just found myself loving the diabetes care. You know, when people came in with diabetes and blood sugar issues, I just lit up. You know, I got excited for those calls. I got excited to see those patients the most when they came in the office. And I think mainly it was because we got great results with them. I love the sort of predictable nature of changes, health changes with most people with diabetes. So, I mean, admittedly, I got very frustrated with thyroid and irritable bowel and autoimmune disease because I felt like I could do the same thing that worked with one person. It didn't work with the next person. And my personality just didn't do well with that. So what I love about diabetes is, and not that everybody is the same. Everybody is different, of course, and we've got to treat the individual. That's a big part of what we do in functional medicine. But I know if I can find the root cause and I can encourage and help motivate, you've got to find that inspiration, but help motivate the person to make the changes that I know they need to make, they will get results 100% of the time. And so I love that. I love seeing the results. And so then I became very passionate about it, dove into the research, got more and more excited about what I was learning and reading. I'll tell you the other piece of it is that there's a huge need. So conventional care for diabetes, surprisingly,
it will give you diabetes, won't it?
It's awful. It's
right?
It's absolutely terrible. And I mean, even what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm still shocked to this day how many clients, patients that I start, even their medication management is terrible. They're going to like the leading endocrinologist in this area or that area or whatever. And it's like they're being prescribed drugs from the 1970s and 80s. It doesn't make any sense. So there's a huge need for better diabetes care, for a better diabetes model, which I believe is a coaching model, continuity of care model, where we actually can get to know someone, track with them, help support them with their food addictions and sugar cravings and lifestyle changes. And that just doesn't fit into conventional medical practice. So I think the passion I have for the results, plus the huge, just dire need for a change in diabetes care, really got me motivated. And it hasn't changed. You know, I mean, I'm still just as motivated today to help people with blood sugar problems.
You know, as you were saying that, I was thinking back to a doctor I used to do workshops with, I think it was like 20 years ago, who wrote some books and really helped people reverse their diabetes. And what she discovered and based her premise, her whole program on, was she found out that the people who were getting better, they'd come in and she put them on the American Diabetics Association diet, right? And the people who were cheating were getting the good results.
Wow.
The people that were following it perfectly were getting worse. So thankfully, like, you're not someone who's going to follow the rules out there. You're going to look for the results and then go back and, right? So that's where we're going to start. And I think one of the places that you definitely don't follow the rules is that you focus on rapid fat loss. And, you know, it really, the rule out there is that slow and steady wins the race and that you shouldn't lose weight fast. What do you say to that?
Well, you're right. And that is, I think, the predominant approach right now. And of course, there's a whole movement, which I understand, and I'm not against this, but there's a whole movement of sort of intuitive eating. And, you know, of course, we don't want to be body shaming and that type of thing. But at the same time, what I've found is that results are motivating. And when people get results, the faster the better, they are motivated to continue on their path. One thing that we know for sure is that the calories in, calories out model of cutting your caloric intake by 500 calories a day to lose a pound a week, or increasing your activity so that you burn 500 more calories a day to lose a pound a week, that does not work. That has been a dismal failure. And that's why weight loss generally, just has a horrible failure record, a horrible track record, because that model doesn't work. It's not that energy dynamics isn't true. It is, but it's not as simple as just cutting calories. For one, I don't even think we can calculate calories very accurately. Labels are notoriously inaccurate. We're assuming that when we burn a food in, do direct calorimetry, burn it in a machine, a bomb calorimeter, that the body is going to extract the exact same amount of energy from that food. And that just doesn't happen. And then certain macronutrients like protein, for example, we don't use all those amino acids for energy. They get used for other things, the building blocks of the protein, right? So I don't think we can say that because the Atwater formula is, 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 per gram of carb, 9 per gram of fat. But I don't think we can say that we use all of those amino acids for energy. It just doesn't happen. We need to build muscle. We need to build new cells. We need to make neurotransmitters. We need to do a lot of other things with our amino acids. So the idea here is that it's not just about calories in, calories out. And intuitive eating is a wonderful idea for people who have a healthy relationship with food. But in my experience, that is the minority, not the majority of people. Most people have food
well, wouldn't you agree? Right. I mean, here's the problem. I think you can actually activate what I'm calling your intuitive GPS, but it's going to take a lot of work to get there. If you're eating processed foods and you go, oh, today intuitively, I think that I need to eat this like grilled cheese sandwich or some cereal with milk. No, that's not intuitive eating. That is a gluten dairy addiction from the opiate-like effect on the brain. So I think that it would be great if you could use that. It probably worked really well 1,000 years ago. And when, we were eating clean food and we didn't have all these processed things, we didn't have all these stressors and all this other external stuff that would mess that whole guidance system up. But yes, now it could be really challenging, could lead you to eating the cookies.
Yeah. So intuitive eating is the goal. I would love to get for everyone to get there, and I think you can get there, but that's not the path to get there. You need to heal your relationship with food first and become more metabolically healthy. That's the whole point of the ProFast diet. What I wrote this book about is let's do something that's a little bit more aggressive to get you as quickly as possible to a much more metabolically healthy state where you're more metabolically flexible. Then you can eat intuitively. You have a lot more leeway. You have more metabolic flexibility. So you can include, some healthy carbohydrates and healthy fats and healthy proteins in your meals and so forth. But again, I think it's important to look at the goal is not the same as the steps that you're going to take to get to that goal. And sometimes we need to do something differently to get to our goal than we will do once we reach our goal.
Well, it sounds like what you're really looking at is how do you quickly heal your metabolism? And that same doctor used to say, you don't lose weight to get healthy, you get healthy to lose weight. Well, I kind of think you do both. But if you've got a really damaged metabolism, it is going to be a harder struggle and you've got to go and heal that. So there's a lot of questions here, but I'm going to go backwards with you. How's that? Just to shake things up. What do you see then as the best approach? If someone's coming in, their blood sugar's unstable, they're pre-diabetic or diabetic, and, they obviously everyone wants to lose weight fast. And I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm going to say fat, not weight, because, we want to hold on to muscle, lose fat. And the studies show it. The studies show that people who lose weight fast tend to lose more weight and keep it off. I don't know why that's not out there more. It's like the hidden. It's always those ones get hidden because they don't support the dogma that we've had forever, right? That you can only lose 1 to 2 pounds a week and blah, blah, blah. Anyway. What do you see as the best approach? Like, where would you start with someone?
Yeah, great question. So let me just first say that if we're talking about people with diabetes, then there are, and I'm going to open a can of worms here, but there are actually 5 types of diabetes. This was published in Lancet Journal in 2018. 2 of those are either underweight or normal weight. The other three, which makes up about 80 to 85% of people with diabetes, are overweight or obese. So I'm going to talk about that group, the percentage that is the much larger percentage, that's about 80 to 85%. This also, we can also put into that group anyone who wants to burn more fat, particularly the visceral or abdominal fat, the dangerous, what I call angry fat, inflammatory fat around the midsection. That could be with prediabetes, metabolic syndrome, or just overweight. So if we look at all these people, it's like, how do we help them to lose weight when they're struggling to lose weight? And most of the time, they also have elevations in the hormone insulin, which I know you've talked a lot about in your work. Insulin is triggered by simple processed carbohydrates and other foods. It goes up when we gain weight, and it actually causes us to stay fat. So what we're after is, how do we become more insulin sensitive? How do we lower our insulin level so that we can burn more fat, become that fat burning machine that we talk about so often? And so the answer is in the book here that we're talking about today, the ProFast diet. The answer is very clear and simple. It's, we need to reduce our energy consumption. Now, let me be more clear about this, because this could sound like I just said we need to cut calories, and that's not what I'm talking about. It is, but it isn't. So what I'm talking about here is we have to divide our food between two main categories: protein and energy. Protein comes from the macronutrient protein-rich foods. That could be animal products. There are some plant foods that have a lot of protein too, but mostly animal products. Protein is essential to keep our metabolic rate high, to protect our lean body mass. And in the book, I talk about a lot of research that came out of Harvard and MIT and other places where they've studied protein-sparing eating approaches. And the idea there is we need our protein, and the magic number seems to be about 1.5 grams per kilogram of ideal or optimal body weight. So about 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of ideal or optimal body weight. So that's generally between 100 and 150 grams of protein a day for most people. So that might be more protein than you're used to eating or not, but we do that so we're not cutting calories. We're keeping our protein requirements intact, so we don't slow down the metabolism and we don't lose lean body mass. And then we cut our energy consumption. So energy I'm defining here as carbs and fat. Now, I know that there's going to be some pushback around, wait a minute, I thought fat was healthy. And yes, I've talked about that for many, many years. It is. I don't want you to be afraid of fat. But if you're already over fat and you're trying to burn some body fat, I think that it's important, especially if we want to do this quickly, to, for a short period of time, restrict the amount of energy we're consuming, and incoming fat can be part of that. So this is a short-term therapeutic approach, but what we want to do is keep our protein high, cut our energy consumption. What I found is just cutting carbs alone is often not enough. So people will cut carbs, and that is important if we're trying, especially processed and refined sugar and grain products. We've got to get those out. But sometimes that'll give you either that slow, steady weight loss, or people will lose a few pounds and then they'll stall, or they won't lose any weight. Like, I love the keto diet, but one of the problems with the keto diet is there's no restriction on how much fat you eat. So sometimes people overeat fat, and then ultimately they'll stall. They won't gain weight. Now, if keto is working for you, you're losing weight, you're probably doing it right. That's great. But I found to make very fast changes, to fix the metabolism in a short period of time, we bring both down. So keep protein high, restrict carbs and fat.
I love that. And what I like to say is too much healthy food is unhealthy. So
yes.
Even though avocados and nuts are good for you, like a pound of nuts,
right? Exactly.
Is right. I mean, and you got to know your triggers. I know for me, if I have crunchy almond butter at home, I've got a problem. So we just don't bring the enemy in the house, right?
And I'm the same way. I can sit down, especially while I'm working, I can sit down with a canister of nuts and just boom, 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 and the whole thing's gone in 30 minutes. So
right. Yeah. So I don't have any of those things that I would lose my mind on. So, and I think that's an easy way to do it for you, is if there's something that you love that's healthy, but you'll overdo it, that then think of that then as a junk food for you.
Yeah, exactly. So protein is satiating. It will make you feel more full. And we don't want to cut fat to zero. We don't want to cut carbs to zero, but we reduce those. And you will start to lose weight. And then you'll start to get motivated. The interesting thing is this is a ketogenic diet, interestingly, because you do produce more ketones on this eating plan. It's I call it pro-fast, because you get many of the benefits of fasting. Hopefully, many of your listeners have heard of the fasting mimicking diet by Walter Longo. It's a similar approach, although his is lower in protein, because he's really after cancer prevention. We're after metabolic health. We keep protein high to protect lean body mass. But the idea is similar. You get some of the same benefits: increased autophagy, lower insulin levels, increased fat burning, increased ketogenesis, which suppresses appetite. It gives you an extra brain fuel. So most people 2 or 3 days into this feel really good. And the biggest problem they have is they get to the end of 6 weeks and they don't want to stop. They're sort of like, okay, where do I go from here?
So I'd love to know where they do go from there. However, before that, what are you doing about meal timing, snacking? Is there any intermittent fasting or fasting that you recommend? How do you deal with all of that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I do think there are benefits to time-restricted eating, so to limit your eating window. And a lot of it on this plan has to do with, can you get in your protein requirements in 2 meals, or do you need 3 to do that? Because we don't want people to skimp on protein. So if you need to get 100 grams of protein, that means 2 meals, that's 50 grams a meal. That could be a lot for some people. So you may need to split that up between 3 meals. If you could easily sit down and eat a 10 to 12 ounce strip steak, or 10 to 12 ounces of wild caught sockeye salmon or cod or something like that, then you can do 2 meals. Whether you're doing 2 or 3, I do like to tighten the eating window up as much as possible. So perhaps if you're doing 3 meals, you start eating at 11, you have a second meal at 3, and then you have your third meal at 6 or 7, something like that, if you need to eat 3 meals. If you can do it in 2, great. Then it's, noon and 6 or something like that, and you have that 6 to 7 hour eating window.
And what are the benefits of doing that, just for everyone to hear? So we reiterate it again.
Sure. Yeah. So during the fasting time, there's several benefits. You will get some increase in autophagy. Now, autophagy, which is basically the word means self-eating, and it's your body's way of recycling old damaged tissues and proteins to basically use for fuel. So it takes old damaged cells, senescent cells, and it breaks those down. So it's beneficial, and you make new cells. You also get increased mitochondriogenesis, so increased mitochondrial formation when you're fasting, because your body will upregulate fuel metabolism that way. You get lower insulin levels. So insulin is basically the fat gate. So when your insulin is low, your fat cells open. You can burn more fat. When insulin is high, it kind of seals the fat cells to hold the fat into the fat cells. So we want low insulin. That comes with prolonged fasting. We also deplete glycogen. So glycogen is stored sugar in the liver and the muscles. And particularly in the liver, you deplete glycogen when you're fasting. And that's beneficial because then your liver becomes a sponge for glucose when you do eat. So whatever glucose is in the meal, your liver is going to soak that up to refill. You store about 80 to 100 grams of glycogen in your liver. After 24 hours of fasting, that's down to about 20 grams. So, the longer you fast, the more you've depleted glycogen, and you get this sort of vacuum, this glucose vacuum in the liver. Same thing with the muscles to a little bit of a lesser extent. And you also get an increase in adrenaline, epinephrine, which is a big fat-burning hormone. So as adrenaline goes up, we burn more fat. So lots of benefits to extend that fast for an extra 3, 4, or 5 hours if you can do it.
So someone goes through the program, and tell me what the average, I know you've run a lot of people through this ProFast program. Like what's kind of the average results over 6 weeks?
Yeah. So we typically see quite a bit of fat loss and weight loss. And this largely depends on the starting point. So the heavier a person is, the more extra fat mass they have, the more they're going to lose fat. Obviously, the faster they're going to lose weight. But typically, we'll see somewhere between 20 to 30 pounds of fat loss over that 6-week period of time. Sometimes more, sometimes a little less. And then oftentimes we'll have people take a sort of a break and then do it again to drop another 15 to 20 pounds if they need to. So we've had people do 3 or 4 cycles of the ProFast diet to be able to get to their ultimate goal of losing 80, 90, 100 pounds or more.
So once they get through a cycle, what happens?
Good question. So at the end of the cycle, we'll do a transition. It's a 4-week transition. And during that transition, we start to add fat back into the diet. We keep protein up where it is, about 1.5 to 1.8 grams per kilogram of optimal body weight. We'll keep the carbs restricted. We just start to add back healthy fat, avocado, nuts and seeds, olives, olive oil, and other healthy fats, fattier cuts of meats, if that's something someone likes. So over a 4-week period, we'll get back up to sort of a normal energy intake through adding back healthy fats. That usually will then keep the metabolism in a healthy, steady state. And when the person's ready to try to drop weight again, they can do another round of ProFast or move on to something like a ketogenic diet or something like that.
I love the fact that you're cycling. And I think this is something that's not talked about enough. In fact, what I've really been looking at is how do we teach people, that we cross-train our exercise, right? I mean, everyone knows that you cross-train your exercise. If you did the same thing all the time, your risk of injury goes up and you adapt and you don't get the same results, yet we don't cross-train our diet. So exactly what you're saying here of like doing a cycle, then switching over and doing a transition. And it's just so smart. And I hope people just start to realize that we need to look at this differently. And that's what we should be doing, is cross-training our diet and getting our body really metabolically adapted. So yay. Go you, is what I have to say, Brian.
Thank you for that.
Very thoughtful program. And I know you've run, how many people have gone through ProFast at this point? I know you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, I've been doing this with my clients for almost 10 years, some variation of it. So I would say hundreds at this point. I probably should keep better data, but quite a few. And I'm not kidding when I say that the people who follow it and do well with it, they get results 100% of the time. It's pretty miraculous.
Those are great guarantees. And we have, for everybody listening, you're going to get your manifesto. Tell me about that. And I'm going to put it at jjvirgin.com/manifesto because we've never given away a manifesto before, Brian. So what is this?
So Blood Sugar Manifesto is essentially, I think, everything you need to do to optimize your blood sugar. We talk about diet, we talk about physical activity, we talk about supplements, sleep, stress, gut health, and all the other factors. I just decided I want to write a manual, not a book, but a manual for, just nuts and bolts. How do you fix your blood sugar? So I put it together in a weekend called the Blood Sugar Manifesto. And if anybody wants it, it's yours for free.
Right on. If anybody wants it, you want it. Of course. Who doesn't want this? And here's the thing, there's a very small subset of the population now that actually has ideal blood sugar. And even if your blood sugar is just slightly above normal, like 90 fasting blood sugar, you have 5 times the risk of dementia. So this is like a super critical sign that your body is giving you that you want to make sure that you're taking control of. And here's a way to do it. So go to jjvirgin.com/manifesto, grab that, and then you can pop on over to Amazon and get the ProFast diet while you're doing it. There you go. All right. Well, Dr. Brian Mowll, such good stuff. I mean, it's all super thoughtful. And I love things that you've got the science and then you proved it in the real world, because as we know, science studies don't necessarily actually prove out when you try them. So I love that you've done this for 10 years.
Not always.
Right? I know. So 10 years, loads of research behind it and loads of real life success stories. So this is definitely something you will want to check out if you would like to improve your blood sugar. And if your blood sugar isn't optimal, you would like to improve your blood sugar. That's the bottom line. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, JJ. I appreciate you having me.
All right. So many great takeaways during that interview. Just a reminder again, jjvirgin.com/manifesto to grab Dr. Brian Mowll's Blood Sugar Manifesto. And to be able to get his book, go to Amazon. It's the ProFast Diet, Burn Fat and Reverse Diabetes in just 6 weeks. And just a couple reminders in there, things that I loved that he brought up. Protein, it's thermogenic. Make sure that you're getting it in there so that you can hold on to or build lean mass while you are dropping fat. And also the whole idea of cross-training your diet too. So notice how he talked about doing this in cycles, that you don't just cut things down and stay there, that you cycle in this. All right. If you've not subscribed yet, it's easy. Go to subscribe to jj.com. See you next time.